Hi, welcome to another StudioX video, and today we are going to see an advanced use case for the Excel automation. So let's see what the use case is. So we have a web page where we have the product information about books, their title and the price, and this is what we want to extract from this web page, getting the title and the price for each of these books and save it into one of the Excel file, which is books_report. So there in the data extraction tab is what we're going to save the title and price of the book. Next thing we want to do is under the books tab, we already have few information. So we have to fill these three columns based on the value from the extracted data. So based on the book name from column B, we have to look up the price for that particular book into the extracted data from the web page. So you can indirectly say that we have to get the price of this book from the web page or this particular website. So to do the task very easy, instead of going to the website, searching for the book and getting the price name, we are first extracting all the information and saving it into the Excel in the data extraction tab, so that the VLOOK becomes easy and we do not have to go to the website for each book and get the price. We already have at one go all the information with us. So that's what the agenda is, to extract the information from the web page. Now, once you do the VLOOKUP in from the book name in the books sheet and from the extracted data, the book name, we will get the price, and this price will be copied to this particular column, which is extraction price. Now, this extraction price is what you see contains a symbol, which we do not want. We just want the value, right? So what we have to do is we have to get the real price without the symbol or without the currency symbol. So we have to do a replace text in this particular scenario, or modify the text from column E and paste the new text to the column F. Next thing is we have to calculate the total value, which will be the multiplication of quantity sold into the price value. So this will be a total price. So we have to repeat this step for each book in this particular sheet. Now, the third thing that we have to do is create a pivot table from this whole data. So once we have filled all the data, including E, F, and G column, we will be creating a pivot table, and that will have a sum of total and a row as the genre. So, and the pivot table that we will create should be within this particular sheet. So let's do this with the StudioX. With the first step is getting the information from the web page and saving it here. So for that, let's first connect with the Excel file and go to the StudioX. To connect to Excel file, we know we have to use the use Excel file resource. So browse where your file is. Let me copy the local path of the report, and there we go. Paste, and this is my file. So once it has connected, now you do not have to change the reference because we will be using the one Excel file across the whole automation. So there'll be no confusion. And we got the Excel file connected now. Next thing we have to do is connect with the web page. For that, we will use a resource called Use Application Browser. Drag it inside the Use Excel file resource, right? Because we want to save the data from the web page into a sheet of Excel file. So the scoping would be Excel file and then the application and the browser. Okay. Indicate your application. So click on, let me on escape, and yeah, this is the file. Indicate application to automate. Click on this, and this is where our web page is. You can see a blue screen is appearing. Left click, and StudioX will automatically capture the URL and the screenshot of the page. Now you have connected with the page. Next thing we have to do is the table extraction, right? Because the pattern is same that we have to extract from this particular page. So let's make use of the table extraction. Click on the table extraction, a wizard will open. The first column that we want in the table is the name of the book. So this will become my first row of the column, and this will become my second row of the column. So I've got my first column, which will have the value of book names. So I've only guided the robot for the first two rows, and other rows, or you can say the other names of the books has been already identified by the robot. Now, the next thing I want to extract is the relevant price to that particular row or that particular book. So I'll click on add column and take the price value. So this is my first row, and this will become my second row. And similarly, the bot has identified the other rows as well, which are following the same pattern. That is why now we are done. We got 2 columns. Now, since we want to get the information of all the 1,000 books, you can see 1,000 results. So we have a next page because the information is across various pages. So let robot give the next button as well. So click on the next button and give the target as your next button, so that the bot can extract all the information of 1,000 books. Now there you go. This is what your table will be. So you have new column 1. Let's rename it for the better understanding and name it as book, or maybe book name for, again, for the no confusion. And book name, click on the save. Our next is the price, or we will say book price, and click on the save button. And then the next button is for the robot to identify the next page icon. So we are done with the extraction, and let's just save it. So there we go. And where do you want to save? We want to save in the Excel sheet data extraction tab. So click on the plus button, Excel sheet, and data extraction sheet is where you want to save. We are done. So that we have the data handy before we start the other steps of the automation, let's run to this part of the automation. Make sure that in your this particular activity, the close option is always close. So what will happen is once the extraction is successful, it will close your browser and it will not leave it open as it is. So let's just close the Excel file so that we have the data ready. And let's click on the run button and see if we get the reports of all the books and the price in the Excel file. It may take a while because there are 1,000 records that has to be extracted. So we have to be a little patient. This is the second page, and this is the third page, and then the fourth page, the fifth. And let's wait for the robot to finish the execution. So I guess we have done with the 1/3 of the results as of now. And it is quite faster than what we could have done manually, I would say, because this is far more better than searching each file name and copying the price relatively and pasting back to the Excel. So there'll be so much of to and fro between the web page and the Excel also. And also you'll have to do so many copy and pasting things. And this is something repetitive that you would be doing for all the 1,000 books. So you can say apart from being repetitive, yes, it is quite boring as well. So yes, let bot do this task for you and you can enjoy meanwhile. So yes, you have around 640 records done. So 60% of the records, I would say, we have extracted now. It's quite fun actually to see the bot running and doing all this automation. We are done with around 800 results. Only around 20% of the results is what we are about to get. Yes, around the 10% results are remaining now. And yes, I guess we have got all the results. This is the last page, which is the page number 50 of the page. and the bot is still running and Excel file is getting updated as of now. Let the bot close. Let's go to the StudioX and see what is happening. It is still running. Okay, and I guess it would be soon finished. And yes, there we go. The last run successful, and you can see the web page is closed now because we are done with the automation. So this is what you can use in the activities panel. And let's open the Excel file that we were working with. So yes, you can see the two column values, right? The book name and the book price. Now, the next thing that we have to do now is do the VLOOKUP between these two sheets. So this book name, it's only the Himalayas, will be searched in the column number A, right? So let me try this. So this value should be looked up here, and the corresponding row value of the book price should be picked, which is this, and should be copied into the relevant row extraction price column. So this is what we have to do next. And then in the price, the value should be without the symbol. So it should be only this part of the text, which we have to update in the price column. And the total column will be the multiplication of price and the quantity sold. So let's do this part as well. And I have removed the values that we did. So yeah, let's create the VLOOKUP for these two sheets. Now for that, we'll have to iterate through each row and do the VLOOKUP for each of the book for which we just now did for the one. Similarly, we have to do for all the 1,000 books, right? So again, we are done with the browser thing. You can just collapse this. Next thing is iterating through the Excel rows. So for that, we have an activity called for each Excel row. And this is for each Excel row activity, and just drag it inside the use Excel file resource. And your current row, as I mentioned, that your current row represents which current row is being processed in the loop. So in the first iteration, this will be your current row. In the second iteration, this will be your current row. So for each of the row and in which range you want to iterate, so click on the plus button, Excel books sheet, right? So the sheet name is books and has headers to tell the robot that the first row is the header or the column name and not the data. So the bot will start picking up the data from the next row. So make sure to check this has headers. Now for each Excel row, what we want to do is we want to do the VLOOKUP, right? So let me take the activity of VLOOKUP and drag it inside the for each Excel row. So what are we looking for is the current row column B value. So in the first iteration, it will be B2. In the next, it will be B3, right? So my current row book column value is what I have to search for. So click on the plus button, current row, and the book column, right? The book column, and where I am searching in range. Now I'm searching in the data extraction column A, which is book name. So in range, click on the plus button, you can say Excel, where exactly inside the data extraction sheet, right? So inside the data extraction sheet, so both the column A and B is what it will be picked up in the range. So you're searching for this inside the whole range. And then correspondingly, you want to get the value from column B. So column index, go to the plus button and click on the number and say column 2. So this column index actually represents that from your search results, which column value you want to pick and take it back, right? So when I say that, for example, for the first row, I got it's only the Himalayas, right? So this is where we have in the row number 21, right? So this will be the result of my VLOOKUP, column A and column B and this row, right? So from these two columns, I'm only interested in the value to be taken from column B, and this will be working as a reference to help me identify the row. And the value correspondingly I want to take is from column B, which is index 2, and this is actually index 1. So index 2 value will be taken and will be pasted to the extraction price, right? So I have taken column index 2, taken the value, and where I want to save it to the current row extraction price column. So we are done with the VLOOKUP now. So it will fill this particular column of the Excel. Let's see how it goes, and we have done the extraction. So we do not want to run the whole automation again. So let me just close this part and only run this part where it will be the filling up the column of extraction price in the books sheet. So right click and run from this activity is what we're going to use. And let's see if we get the results from the VLOOKUP activity. So you can actually run your whole automation into the pieces to make sure that you're doing the proper steps, and this we call as a unit testing, creating the smaller steps and testing them and then going further, so that at the end you get a good running robot which is tested properly. So there you go, the last one is successful, and let me just open the file again. And there we go, we have the extraction price filled up, right? Just to check, maybe you can just check that it was earlier 45.17 if I remember exactly. So you can see 45.17, it's correct. We have done the VLOOKUP correct. Now, next thing is we have to fill these two columns. So let's just do this, and let me do. So for each column, again, what we want to do is fill the extraction price. So we have to modify this particular text and replace the symbol of your currency with something, an empty string, or you can say kind of null thing or nothing, right? So let me use an activity called modify text. Modify text. This is here. Drag it inside the for each Excel row, right? Text to modify is what we're going to mention. So click on the plus button. Your current row extraction price column value is what you want to alter, right? And then add modification. Add modification is what kind of modification you want to do with this particular value. So we want to find and replace, correct? Now, right, exactly, yeah, find and replace. So what we are searching for, we are searching for this particular value, which is this symbol, right? So inside the extraction price value, we are searching for this symbol, and we want to replace it with a nothing or a empty text. So this will be actually deleted from the text as a result. Okay. So now there we go, and save result to somewhere. So maybe we can save it. You can either copy it to clipboard, or as of now, we will save it for later use. And let's name it as price. So this actually is like of your temporary storage. So you have used the temporary storage to save the value. But what you will get after replacing the symbol with empty text. So you have done modifying the text, and next thing you have to do is now put this modified text to the correct cell value, which is column F, right? So for that, we will use an activity called write cell. So search for the activity called write cell and drag it after the modified text, right? Now what to write? We want to write the price, which we have got after modifying the text, which is the extraction price. Click on the plus button and say use saved value and price. So this value is what we want to write, and where do you want to write is where you can say the current row price column, right? So price column is where we want to write. We are done with this. Next thing we want to do is update this column as well, which is total. So again, use the same activity called write cell. Now, what do you want to write? You want to do the multiplication. So click on the plus button and go to number, because this time we will be using the numeric calculation. If we go and choose the text option, that it won't actually perform the actual multiplication between the digits. It will only consider the symbols and text as a number and alphabets. So for doing any kind of arithmetic thing, we have to go to the number section. So go here, click on the plus button, your current row quantity sold, and then give the multiplication, and then plus your current row price, right? So this will be your total. And where do you want to write is click on your current row total column is where do you want to write. So there we go. We have done updating all the 3 columns E, F, G. I had deleted the value from the earlier run because this will be rewritten in this iteration, because for each Excel row we will be repeating all of these activities to fill up the column of column E, F, G all at once. So let's just start running for updating the books sheet. For that, close the Excel file and right click on the for each Excel row and click on run from this activity. And let's see if we get the books sheet filled up with all the column values. So the bot has started, the Excel is there, and we can actually see it is doing the manipulation, extraction price, and the price is being changed after removing the symbol, and the total price is being calculated. So it's doing perfectly fine. It may take a while because it will be doing it for all the rows one by one, because we are in the iteration for each Excel row. So for each of this row, it goes to the data extraction sheet. As you can see, at the data extraction tab is also getting highlighted during the execution. So it switches between the tab and take the value and do the VLookUp and do all the multiplication and manipulations. So there we go. We have all the data filled up here for all the 98 rows and done. So we have the books raw data ready. Now from this data, we want to create a pivot table in this sheet. So let's go back to our StudioX. We are done till now here. Next thing is we have to create a pivot table, for which we have an activity. So go and click on create pivot table, drag it after the for each Excel. Now, what is your source of click on the plus button and go to Excel, then indicate in Excel. Once you go and click on indicate in Excel, it will open your Excel sheet for the books. So there you go. You want from column A, left click and drag till column G, which is total column. So there you go. You want from A to G all the values. Once you're done with selecting the range, click on the confirm button. So now it has taken the source, which is the Excel file, and the books is the sheet name, and this is the range from column A to column G. You want your pivot table name to be, so just click on the plus button and go to text and give your pivot table name, say genre overview, and there you go. Click on the save button. And then destination is where you want your pivot table to be. So give the sheet name from the Excel And genre overview sheet is where you want your pivot table to be created. So we are done. Next thing is we have to define the pivot table fields. So click on add pivot field, and there you can see which field you want to choose. Click on plus button, and then you can see from the range what value or the column that you want to pick now. Say, so for this, we choose genre as a first field that we're interested in, and we want to make it a row in the pivot field or the pivot table. Next field we want is the total. So click on the plus button. From the range, we want the total column, right? And now this is not a row, but this is actually is a value, and the function is sum. So in your pivot table, a genre row, and there'll be a value field which will have a sum of the total column. Right? So we are done with creating the pivot table also. Next thing we have to do is send this file, the file that we have just now updated, or after the pivot table is created, we want to send this to the email. So for which, let's use an activity for connecting with a desktop Outlook app, and let's drag it inside the same resource, or maybe you can use it outside as well. Okay. So default account you can choose, or any other account if you have configured, no need to change the reference. And what we want to do is we want to send the email. Then drop activity inside this resource. Okay, so inside this resource, make sure you are using the send email activity. And yes, from this account we want to send. So let me send it to myself. So that we can actually see. So this is to whom you want to send the final report. Click on the save button. Subject would be, let's say, the sales report. Again, click on the save button, right? And then what we want is the attachment of the file. So make sure to uncheck this, because we do not want to save it as a draft, but we actually want to send this email. So make sure to uncheck this. Next thing is, let's mention the file attachment. So either you can go to browse and mention where your file is. So this is where the file that you want to attach. So browse and give your file. And there you go, it has taken. You can attach multiple files, but as of now, we only need one. So send email, and this is the desktop Outlook app. So there is no issue of putting this inside the use Excel file resource, but you can also put it outside, right? It will work both ways, because there is no dependency between the data of these two resources. Now we are done with this, right? So now let me do another run. So we are done with updating these three columns. The next run we want is to create the pivot table and send the email. Let me close this Excel file. Right. And yes. Also, one more thing that we have to make sure, or we have to take care, is do not put your create pivot table activity inside the for each Excel row, because you do not want to repeat for each Excel row. So it should be outside this, right? So let's right click and run from this activity, and let's see how we get the pivot table and the email in the Outlook. So the Excel file is being updated. It's done. The robot is running and it is successful. Let's jump to the Excel file first, and let's see the pivot. So there we go. In the genre overview, we have the pivot table with the row as the genre and the total sum total for each of the genre values, right? And then similarly, let's go back to the Outlook, and we should have a mail here. There we go, sales report. And you can see there is an attachment. So let me just close, because it won't allow the file with the same name to be reopened. So it should be a final file with all the values updated. So we have the pivot table, we have these 3 columns updated, we have the extracted data from the web page as well. So that's all for today. We did an advanced Excel automation where we actually tried creating the VLookUp and pivot tables, and we did the extraction from the web page and saved a value to the Excel, right? So that's all for today, and thanks for watching.